A worldwide movement called tyre extinguishers, here's another mob, have taken to deflating thousands of car tyres in the name of climate activism. And it seems they've inspired more ugly action, this time on the tyres of a logging vehicle, which was being used to salvage windblown trees after storms swept through the Wombat State Forest. James, the irony here is that the forest is a natural resource that regenerates. Why are the activists targeting this one?
Well, there's a couple of things here, Rowan. The first thing I'd like to know is, how did the activists get to the Wombat Forest? Do you reckon they drove a car?
Oh, there's a fair chance of that, James.
And I
see where you're going with this.
As you've pointed out, timber is a renewable resource. In fact, it's infinitely renewable, and yet we're not allowed to use that either. They had 500,000 tonnes of timber lying on the forest floor. It's a fire hazard. So in seeking to save the environment, they're actually imperiling the environment by creating a major fire problem. These are people who enjoy the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought.
But that's the point, James. The idea is to make sure there are giant fires so they can say, well, it's climate change. So that's how they make this cycle go on, or they're just really stupid vandals. That's also a possibility.
I think it's worse than vandalism, because what they're actually doing is they're sending a signal to anyone involved in any of these industries: don't bother, because you will be targeted. So that's why I think they should really be prosecuted. If they ever found out who these people are, they should be prosecuted not just for $20,000 worth of vandalism. It's more than that. They're trying to destroy entire industries.
But they copied the guys who were letting down the tyres on the milk trucks, if you remember earlier in the year.
Yes.
So because they were let off on bail and never prosecuted, these guys thought, what a great idea. Let's do the same thing.
Now, here is where this story was what led to my little inspirational idea about bringing back national service, because clearly these kids, we've seen them and anchoring themselves to the Sydney Harbour Bridge, blocking tunnels, roaming out, destroying things. They are desperate to do something because they are angry and militant, and they are turning that against society. We need to get back to a point where, if we're not going to teach our kids anything intelligent in schools, then give them national service for 12 months. It works in Israel, it works in other places, where they can actually get to grips with either the environment, go and work 12 months. Tony Abbott had the Green Army, go and work for 12 months, planting things, cleaning up river systems, digging ditches, whatever it might be, or go and work in remote Indigenous communities for 12 months. Close the gap, literally, by helping Indigenous Australians, survivors of domestic violence or whatever it might be, or simply helping build things, or do national service in the traditional way. Alexandra, what do you reckon?
You mean be productive for millennials?
Yes.
Make them actually do things.
That's the gist of it. You said it much more succinctly.
I don't see how it could possibly be a bad thing, because it'd be more productive to have them out there actually saving the planet by planting some trees and working out how difficult it is to actually save the environment or clean the environment up, and also be good to detach them from their phones for a while. Maybe somewhere where there's no signal.
National service
so that
without phones. No signals. James, you have teenage boys who would be heading into my national service program as we speak, or in the next year or so. As a dad, what do you reckon?
It wouldn't do them any harm, but I'm just worried, where are they going to find then the time to glue themselves to artwork, to block major roads?
Think of the artworks we'd be saving.
I know.
You do have to be careful you don't upskill them. You don't want them to become more skilled at climbing things and gluing themselves to things.
Well, the extraordinary thing in Israel, which we have seen, is that and we have the evidence of this over the last 20 years. They call Israel the startup nation, because that's where so many startup firms, IT firms have successfully, AI firms, Alexandra, robotics firms, all of these, many of them have come out of Israel. And part of the reason is that this was Netanyahu who promoted this idea. But many of the skills that the kids learn in national service, they are then equipped with leadership skills, with the ability to resilience, to understand that you've got to make plans on your feet, change plans, adapt when things go wrong, move over here, the market changes. So that many of the basic, not shooting guns and things, but the basic things that you learn in a military education about leadership, about planning, about how things can go wrong, they apply, and that's one of the reasons Israel has been so successful as a startup nation, which is interesting.